Hello, hello, hello. This is Brian Willie, and you are here for the Creating Predictability and Profit in an Era of Maps Unpredictability and Chaos. If you're not in the right spot, I apologize. Everybody else, we are going to go ahead and get rolling here. So first, a little housekeeping. What I'm going to show you is a combination of techniques. In fact, I'm going to show you 5 of my biggest techniques to getting ranked on maps, and they work in harmony, okay? They work actually together. So you don't want to just take one thing away, for instance, and then just go try to implement it and figure that, hey, it's going to work. All these things work together. The other thing is that I don't want you to get disturbed here. So make sure you do kind of the usual things like, turn off your cell phone, shut off Skype. Skype can get annoying with all the little beeping sounds that pop up. I know how that goes. If you've got whatever, dogs and cats in the room, maybe you just set them out for a little while. My dogs are always trying to vie for my attention. So if you can do that, I'd appreciate it. And you're going to get a lot more out of the training, okay? So I'm going to make you kind of a big promise here, and hopefully by the end of this training I've delivered on that. But what I want to show you and what I want you to walk away with is how to rank in the 3-pack of Google Maps every single time, even if you tried everything before and failed miserably, okay? And I know that's a big promise, and I've got a lot to live up to here, but I want to make sure that you walk away with this as your big takeaway. All right, so really quickly, before we go on, I want to get your permission for something. I like full transparency. You've probably been on webinars where you're like, what the heck is going on? Where somebody's trying to sell you something all of a sudden, right? So I want to make sure that if you do like what I teach and that you feel like I've done a good job, and you think that it's going to make a big transformation in your life and your marketing, would I have your permission to spend about 10 minutes to help you take this even further? Okay, so this is all up to you, and I'm not going to do it unless I give you something today that you can actually put in place in your marketing and your life, and then only with your permission. Otherwise, I'm just going to move right back into the second half of training, take Q&A at the end of the webinar after the training. So what I'm going to do is I've structured this so that I'm going to go through part 1 of the training. I'm going to show you my program as long as I have your permission to do so, as long as I've done a good job in part 1 of the training. I know your time is valuable, and some people don't want to stick around until the very end through questions and answers and all that stuff. So I do want to show you what I have today. But if you don't like what I'm doing, it's entirely up to you. You can drop no's in the chat box, and I will move straight back into part 2 of the training. Take Q&A and move forward. Sound fair? All right, cool. Also, a free bonus for everybody who sticks around to the end. I get told that I speak very quickly, and people are like, "Hey, Brian, slow down." Okay, and I get it. We've got a short amount of time, and I want to make sure that I move through all this stuff. So everybody who sticks around till the end is going to get the entire slide deck of this presentation that'll have all the different 5 aspects of things that can help get you ranked. All right, so stick around till the end. Really quickly, who the heck am I? Why should you even bother listening to me? All right, really quickly, I'm going to burn through this. I've been a local marketer since 2006. I've been doing SEO and maps marketing since really the early days. I got my start actually helping a local law firm that was doing $175,000 a year gross. And if you know anything about law firms, that's not a lot of money after you pay overhead, salaries, keep the lights on, all that stuff. And within a couple of years, they started doing 1.2 million, and now they're doing $2 million a year, primarily from implementing maps and SEO strategies, and mostly from maps. They get so many phone calls from maps, it's just ridiculous. So we're going to talk about how some of that works. And I got the bug from there. And I've been helping other local law firms, other businesses ever since then. Several years back, I co-founded a group that you may or may not have heard of, Local Client Takeover. It is the world's largest local SEO marketing group. And very proud to work with my buddy and co-founder, Mark Luckenbaugh, Matt Stack. We've done a lot of cool things together over the years. Just had a big event in Vegas, so it's been a lot of fun. I've trained over 200 agencies worldwide on maps. So I've become an expert in maps to where I actually train very, very large SEO agencies and their entire teams on ranking processes and also fixes of listings that have gone wrong. Sometimes there's just these little things that go wrong, and I get called in to kind of clean up the mess, essentially. I'm also a sought-after speaker and consultant on all things related to maps. I'm a member of some really high-end masterminds, also with some of the biggest marketers in the world. Hope maybe you've heard of some of these people. ClickFunnels co-founder Dylan Jones. So he's kind of the guy behind the scenes that created all the technical side of ClickFunnels. Ben Atkins, Davin Michaels. Davin's a really great guy here in Vegas with me. Like to hang out with Davin a lot. We've been in masterminds together. Davin owns one of the largest outsourced VA agencies in the world. They've got something like 400 or 500 employees in the Philippines, and Davin's just like a absolute genius to talk to. Chris Munch, Chris Winters, Mario Brown, Sam Bell, Matt Diggity, Diggy Dirk. I mean, Glenn from Viper Chill and more, to name a few. Matt Diggity and Diggy Dirk in particular, we work very closely together. Matt is just the king of SEO. He's an absolute master. Diggy is the king of niching yourself down, and created, 7-figure local SEO agency in 18 months. So these guys know what they're doing, and it's really cool to be a part of masterminds where these guys are in the room because we all learn from each other. This is just really quickly a picture of me, terrible picture of me, by the way. Good Lord, I slouch. On stage at the local client takeover LCT Live 7 Figures or Bust event in Vegas. We had a really great turnout. That's just the back of the room. I think Matt Diggity was speaking at that point. That's my buddy Matt Diggity, about to go on stage. And here's just some shenanigans that go on in Vegas. Not that anything ever takes place in Vegas, right? Matt Diggity, you've got Diggy Dirk on the right. You've got Joe in the middle, our buddy, who's taking a picture. And we're just out hanging out, gambling, and I think staying out of trouble at that point. So anyway, really quickly, let me just show you a few results that I've been able to achieve for clients over the years. So here is a divorce attorney client that I work with, and literally very large population, 5.6 million. Number 2 in maps, has been there for a long, long time. Another divorce attorney is number 3 in maps, 1.2 million population. A bankruptcy attorney. I mean, bankruptcy and personal injury are some of the hardest terms to get ranked. Number 3 in maps, has been there for 7 years. 3 million population. We've got an auto repair shop, another extremely competitive niche in a very large metropolitan suburb area of 5 million people. Number 2 in maps. Psychologist, number 1 in maps, another very competitive term. This is out, I think, in Florida. I've got a psychologist client out there. They've been ranked number 1 or number 2 in maps for years. Very large population. Endodontist, number 3 in maps, large population again. Drug rehab, if you don't know anything about drug rehab, we're talking big, big money clients. If you get them as clients, they'll pay you a lot because their clients in turn are worth a lot to them. Pay per lead, worth a ton. People will pay a lot for a phone call. They'll rent your sites out, all this stuff. Number 2, this is a client out in Florida who is doing very well, large population. Another one, commercial real estate, 1.5 million population. Number 2, they've been in maps again for 6, 7, 8 years, doing very, very well. So really quickly, I just want you to understand what I'm going to show you today in this training is going to allow you to kind of cheat your way through this a little bit. So it took me years of trial and error. And SEO, the non-glamorous part of SEO is it's really about testing. Okay, so I've spent years testing this stuff. And I really literally have had to learn the hard way. And I want to show you some tricks during this training that are going to allow you to sort of cheat your way through this. So let's talk about why most local SEOs are failing at maps. let's talk about what we're going to cover, and here's why they're sort of failing. I would say number three, when we get to that part of the training, that because I told you Truett's Trap is the biggest reason they're failing, and I'll tell you what that's about. But the other reason is that they don't understand where we've came from, and that things have changed so dramatically, and that has to matter to you. I'm going to show you what I mean. SEO is sort of they try to keep up to date, but with maps, the algorithm is constantly shifting, and it has dramatically shifted in recent months to the point where people are sort of left shaking their head, a little baffled, and people are still living by sort of these old school SEO methods with respect to maps, and it just doesn't cut it anymore. So I'm going to show you what's changed. The other thing is Google, literally, I'm not exaggerating, thinks all of your clients' businesses are like pizza restaurants and other local stuff. I think that's what I meant to say with all those symbols, that you have to understand to up your game and win the 3-pack war. All right, so this is all about local. I'm going to prove it to you. And most SEOs are still stuck in sort of this niche-based idea of everything is about your niche, and when really everything is about local. So we're going to dive into all that stuff. And then, of course, I talked about number three, because I told you Truett's Trap is your worst enemy in ranking in the 3-pack, and we're going to talk about what to do about it. Number four, we'll get into categorically denying categories and how to get easy wins in as little as 3 minutes. So later on in part 2 of the training, if we go into part 2, as I had mentioned before, I'm going to just ask your permission up front for 10 minutes of your time in between part 1 and 2 to show you this new program that I have, and I'll only show it to you if I've got your permission, if I've done a good job training. But once we get into part 2, assuming we do, I'm going to get into a cool little trick that in as little as 3 minutes, I've seen many of my consulting clients get ranked in maps. So I want to show you some easy wins here, guys, that you can implement. And then I'm going to show you my 3-step plan for success every time. Okay. All right. So really quickly, let's get into the training part 1 portion. And I want you to understand where maps evolved from and why that's important to you. So I put here on, this slide, from 6 years of predictability with what's called the blended algorithm to seeming unpredictability with Possum, which is an algorithmic update that Google came out with very quietly on September 1st, 2016. So what is the blended algorithm? Why does that matter to you? So here's how it worked. For years, in the early days of Maps, when it was Google Places and even really pre-Google Places, and for a number of years after that, the only thing that you needed to get ranked in Maps was a pulse, which was sort of optional, a kind of optimized listing, sort of optional, and then not so optional was just more citations than the next guy, right? You literally needed more citations to your site, name, address, and phone number on citation sources than the next person. At that point, there was a 7 and a 10-pack in some cases, and literally if, the person in spot number 4 had 120 citations and you went out and built 125 citations, you were going to win. So Google realized very quickly that's an easy way to game the system. And, from SEOs right on down to the clients themselves could just figure this out. It was very easy to figure out. And so what they did is they started to move away from that and they started to blend the algorithm. What do I mean by that? When I say blended algorithm, I mean that they started to look at the algorithm that applies to maps, the citations and all that good stuff, and then the algorithm that applied to local rankings organically, and they would blend those together. So you had to have your stuff together, so to speak, on your site. You had to have your on-site game pretty on point, and more importantly, you had to start ranking towards the top organically, typically on page 1 towards the top. So we, in real, not even extreme scenarios, but in most scenarios for kind of competitive terms or in large cities, it was not uncommon to see the maps pack order directly track the exact organic order or indirectly track the organic order on page 1. So meaning you had to be on page 1 at or near the top, And that was especially true when we switched over from a 7 to a 3-pack. So it's very important to understand that. And what we're seeing now is what is sort of this seeming unpredictability, this seeming disconnection. You're going to see why I say seeming, because really it's not as unpredictable as it seems. It's controllable. I'm going to show you some little tricks of how to do that. So let's look at the blended algorithm in action real quick. Well, actually, really quickly before I move into that, let's mention one thing that's sort of clear the air. A lot of people, in the SEO community say, oh, the blended algorithm's gone, right? Because there's this seeming disconnection that's going on, meaning that, there might be one person in maps or two people in maps where, hey, you can't find them anywhere in the organic rankings. And so is the blended algorithm even important? And so many people say yes, many people say no. Well, let's look at some examples, all right? All right, so is the blended algorithm in play, yes or no, is the question here. Meaning that does the 3-pack directly or somewhat indirectly track the organic rankings typically on the first page? And so here we are in Sarasota, Florida, and the keyword term is Sarasota chiropractor. So we see the 3-pack there. Our goal here is yes or no. Does the organic ranking sort of track what's going on inside the 3-pack? All right. So in this case, yes. So Sarasota Chiropractic, Florida Chiropractic and Rehabilitation Clinics, Joseph F. Army. If you look, we've got in the number 1 organic spot, it's directly tracking the number 1 map spot. And then we've got Dr. Army in the number 3 spot, also in the number 3 spot of maps. And then if we go a little further down the page, we've got the SarasotaChiropractor.com, which is, I believe, in the 2nd spot of maps. So in this case, yes, the blended algorithm is fully intact. So people who have told you that it doesn't matter at all are typically wrong or only partially right. There are instances where it's fully intact. There are instances where it's not intact at all. There are instances where it's in the middle, and that's the most sort of prevalent thing that we see, is where it's partially intact. So let's look at a dentist example. Is the blended algorithm in place? Sarasota dentist, yes or no? Again, we've got the 3-pack. We need to look at the organic rankings. So yes, with respect to position 1, Sarasota Dental Group is right there. You can see. Yes, Smile Sarasota, right? We see Smile Sarasota. They're a little further down the page, sort of indirectly tracking it. What about our friends at Bayview Dental Associates? I said no, WTF. I don't know what that stands for. They are actually on page 3 down here. So it's partially intact. All right, so this is a very common result that you see with the blended algorithm, where 2 players are still on page 1, while 1 player seemingly came from nowhere and displaced somebody else. Why does that happen? Well, there's filtering. We'll get into filtering, don't worry, that's part of the possum algorithm. There's also no longer needing to be in the city center, also part of the possum algorithm. And it's very common. And the biggest aspect and the biggest way that you can actually go and make some money is by contacting people who have been displaced by someone else who I refer to as a non-player, where they seem to have come out of nowhere, like page 3, page 5, maybe nowhere to be found, and suddenly they're in the maps pack. And there's many reasons that this can happen. Somebody's been filtered out and then somebody sneaks their way in, or somebody that was, where you used to need to be in the city center as part of the maps algorithm and you don't now, has snuck their way into the maps pack. Either way, it creates an opportunity for the person or business that's been displaced. Because if you can figure out how to rank maps every time with predictability, you can contact these people and say, look, I see this happen to you. You were filtered, you were displaced by someone else. I know why. We can get this fixed for you. Now you've got a client. Okay. All right. Let's look at a service niche example. How about plumbers? So we've got, again, the question, blended algorithm, yes or no, is it in place? Sarasota plumber. See the 3-pack and page 1. No. I'm going to spare you the going through every page, but essentially no, only one of the businesses in the pack is also on page 1. Everybody else is on page 2, nowhere to be found. This is very common, by the way. And by the way, with service businesses, the blended algorithm was not as intact as it was with other storefront types of businesses. Storefront is just physical location businesses. But it was still in play somewhat, and we're seeing more disconnection in service businesses. So what does that mean to you? I mean, does this mean that the blended algorithm is gone? No, absolutely not. It means that it's still in play in many cases, and in a lot of cases, your ability to get ranked in maps still is heavily dependent on where you're ranked organically. All right? So hold on to that a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So let's chat really quickly about what changed. We talked about where we came from, the blended algorithm. I just showed you proof that it's still in play and that maybe you still need to get ranked organically pretty highly to get into maps in some cases, but not every case. But along comes this update called Possum from sort of predictability of the blended algorithm for 6 years plus to Possum on September 1st, 2016. And I use this analogy why Google now thinks everyone in business sells pizza. So I'll show you what I mean by that. All right, so 5 changes actually occurred with Possum. And I'm being facetious, but lucky for us, only 3 of them are extremely major. And all 3 have one thing in common. 3 things actually, just like real estate: location, location, location. All right, so Possum change number 1. This is, and I literally mean number 1. This is the most important thing that changed, and what really, really matters to you and why you're seeing this big disconnection go on is that the location of the searcher, especially on a mobile device, matters more than ever. Okay, so unless you can convince Google otherwise, and more on that later, Google is literally treating all of your clients like a pizza place. All right, so what do I mean by that? If I'm hungry and I'm driving around on my mobile device, well, hopefully I'm not driving on my mobile device. That would be a pretty cool trick. But if I'm driving around with my mobile device and I'm hungry and I decide, look, I want pizza, and I search for pizza places and I want to see, pizza places that are near me. Right? I'm starving. I don't want to drive 45 minutes across town and still, wait 20 minutes to get in. It's like, show me pizza places that are 5 minutes from me, or 5 miles from me, for instance. And that makes sense, right? If you're hungry and you want pizza, show me stuff that's near me. So here's the problem. Google's algorithm has now figured this out. They're figuring out that on a mobile device, where you are located, the proximity of you as the searcher in relation to where the business actually is located is very important. So they're going to serve up results that are near you. So on the one hand, we have an algorithm that's evolved and that has done very well, and on the other hand has gotten very stupid. Okay, so what do I mean by that? And stupid in the sense of Google is sometimes it just will take them, months to years to actually iron out the kinks of a new algorithm. But what do I mean? So pizza makes sense. Now let's switch the example here. Let's say that I am getting a divorce, and I'm searching on that same mobile device for a divorce lawyer in town. Do I care if they are the closest to me, or do I care if they're the best? Right? Total rhetorical question. I care if they're the best. I don't care if I have to drive 45 minutes or an hour and a half across town. Give me the best divorce attorney. What if I'm being audited, right? Do I care if they're the closest, or do I care if they're the best? I want the best. So Google is treating all of your clients like they're pizza places. They don't care if you're a divorce attorney, an IRS, auditor specialist or attorney. Or any number of any type of any kind of example. Maybe you want the best cosmetic dentist in town because you've got something that's really wrong with your teeth and you want the absolute best. I don't really care about the people that are just right by me, do I? No. So Google has simultaneously gotten smarter in the algorithm and stupid at the same time. And so you need to understand how this works and why geographic specificity, which we'll talk more on that later, is your best friend in this scenario. Okay, and really quickly, I just mentioned that this goes back to testing that was being done 2 to 3 years ago, and some fun phone calls that I would get from clients in a 7 to 10 day period. What do I mean by that? Well, probably 2 or 3 years ago, I got a phone call from a client, and we all have these clients who love their little vanity keywords, where they want to rank for what they perceive as perceived to be the most search term in town. And I would get a call. I got a call from one client where they're telling me, hey, like 5 minutes ago, I'm sitting upstairs in my office, and I typed in, major keyword plus city, and I'm ranking in maps, and everything's great. And now I'm driving across town, and I'm 5 minutes away, and I'm not showing up for the same term. What's going on? So I figured, it's just clients being a pain in the butt. And then I started getting a bunch of these phone calls all in 1 week, and I went, crap, what's going on? People were telling me literally they would go down on their mobile device in their parking lot, and they're getting a different result. So what I started to figure out is that Google was messing with the algorithm at that point. They're testing it. They're trying to figure out, mobile was becoming very prevalent, especially 2 and 3 years ago. They're trying to figure out how can they show up or serve up better results on mobile. And this is what they were doing. They were testing it. So you'd get one result on a desktop, but a different result on mobile, and then maybe a slightly different result across town. And what happened was this culminated in the algorithm known as POSSUM. This number one thing that we just talked about, location of the searcher on a mobile device. So part of this change is also a massive disconnection in what's shown on desktop versus mobile network versus mobile Wi-Fi. This is extremely important. What's going on here are layered maps results, literally dozens and sometimes hundreds of maps results. So what was predictable before, where you could say with some level of certainty that, hey, if my client is ranking on desktop, I can sit there on a mobile device in the same spot, on Wi-Fi, not on Wi-Fi, and I'm going to see the same results. Or I can go slightly across town, or even all the way across town, I'm going to see the same results. This has changed. I'm going to show you in a second in action. Really quickly, before I show you these examples, in the end, what matters is what the searcher in town sees, not what we see. And also, this is very important. This is what I would call a writer downer, as Perry Belcher would say. Not what the reporting tools report. Okay, so we've got these SERP tracking tools that will report maps results. Most of them are wrong. The reason is there are dozens of variations of maps results now. Desktop, mobile network, mobile Wi-Fi across town, mobile network across town. So let me show you what I mean. Let's see this in action. This is part of the reason that SEOs are confused of how to sort of with a level of consistency and predictability get rankings. Let me show you really quickly. All right, so let's use the word or the keyword Las Vegas criminal lawyer. Nobody ever, I'm sure, gets in trouble in Vegas. So we've got a 3-pack, and this is a desktop capture, obviously. So you can take a look here. We've got LV Criminal Defense, Joel Mann, Las Vegas Defense Group. All right, let's move to mobile Wi-Fi, literally sitting in front of my computer. Okay, I didn't shift my position at all. All I did was switch to a mobile device on Wi-Fi, sitting in the chair in front of my computer. So now we've got Brian Smith. We've got LV Criminal Defense, who I think might have been there before, Las Vegas Criminal Lawyers, yeah, and Douglas Crawford. Two of the players are totally different once I switched to mobile Wi-Fi without moving at all. Mobile network. Let's look again. There's LV Criminal Defense. These guys are doing good. Brian J. Smith, I think we saw before. And then Joel Mann, I think we saw on our first desktop. Right? So this is mobile network, non-Wi-Fi. So we're seeing a totally different result now. It's shuffling, essentially. Desktop. Let's look at Las Vegas Cosmetic Dentist. Different keyword term here. We've got exceptional dentistry, aesthetic dentistry, Las Vegas Center for Cosmetic Dentistry. You've got me sitting in my chair, not moving over to a mobile device on Wi-Fi. Let's see if there's any differences. Exceptional dentistry matches 1 for 1. Aesthetic dentistry matches. Number 2, Las Vegas Center for Cosmetic Dentistry. Whoops, wrong. Las Vegas Center for Cosmetic Dentistry, Las Vegas Cosmetic Dentist Dr. Glenn, whatever his name, Gallagher. On mobile Wi-Fi, not moving, we've got a different result. One result is different. Let's switch over to network. Las Vegas Center for Cosmetic Dentistry, aesthetic dentistry again, right? So some of these people are showing up again, over and over. These guys were actually, I think, on the desktop. Las Vegas Center for Cosmetic Dentistry. Aesthetic dentistry was in a different version. Now we got a totally different version with Dr. Jonathan White. Where was he? I don't see him anywhere, right? So now, third version. So let's have a little bit of fun. Let's have me be your guinea pig and drive across town 7 minutes on a mobile network and see what we get. Exceptional dentistry's back, aesthetic dentistry's back, different result. Las Vegas Center for Cosmetic Dentistry, who I believe was on the first desktop result. Okay, so you're seeing layered versions of maps, and sometimes there's literally dozens, if not hundreds, of variations, depending on the type of device that's used, depending on whether you're on Wi-Fi, non-Wi-Fi, where you're at in town. I literally could have driven around the corner and gotten another result, or driven 5 minutes away and gotten another result. All right, so let's do another example. Chiropractor, desktop capture. We've got these 3 players here. The first person doesn't give me any comfort. I'm not sure I want to get my neck cracked from a 1-star chiropractor, but who knows, maybe they're good. So we've got Las Vegas Chiropractic Associates, Healing Center, McKay Chiropractic. We've got yours truly sitting in front of his desk with a mobile device, not even moving. And look at that. 3 totally different results. Didn't move an inch. All I did was fire up my mobile device on Wi-Fi. Fallon Chiropractic, Schleissner Chiropractic, Kelly Chiropractic. 3 totally different results. Let's check network. Las Vegas Chiropractor, again, there's our 1-star. Now we have the joint. Not that kind of joint. Get those dirty thoughts out of your head. Lake Mead Chiropractic. So 2 different results on this page here for mobile network. Now let's have me be your guinea pig again and drive across town. What do we have? There's our 1-star neck cracker. The joint chiropractic is still there. Now we have Chiropractic Healing Center that shows up in town, right? 7 minutes away. And I could have gotten different results by just moving slightly further away or around the corner. All right. So really quickly, you're seeing that there's a lot of shifts going on mobile and Wi-Fi. And that's where this sort of seeming disconnection is going on. And let's talk about the reason for the disconnection. At least a couple of the reasons. One is Possum changes to number 2, filtering. So if you're not familiar with filtering, it is a process where Google has determined that there are 2 people who are in the same category at the same address, and it doesn't make sense to show them both. Now this is how it's supposed to work. I'm going to show you also how it actually works. So let's say we have 2 personal injury lawyers who are in the same building. Let's say we have 4 personal injury lawyers in the same building. What's going on is before, maybe all of them were at the top from the blended algorithm perspective, right? So keep that in mind. That's the important part of the blended algorithm is before September, you would expect to see, those, let's say 3 of them. All 3 of them were at the top organically. You would expect to see all 3 of them in maps, even if they shared a building. It didn't matter. All right. And I'm not talking about sharing a suite or something like that. They're in this, let's say they're 11-floor building. They're all on different floors or whatever. Google, in its infinite wisdom and under Possum, decided to filter out results. So filtering is when you click more places where maybe you would expect to see a couple of these people just further down in more places. Maybe they're position 8 and 9, for instance. Now under filtering, they're not there at all. They're playing dead like a possum. So I think that's where the Possum algorithm name came from. It's as though they're hiding or playing dead almost. And the reason I say that is that they're not under more places. But if you go and just do this as a little test, don't do it now, obviously, but you go under more places, and if you can't find the person you're looking for, click the little zoom sign, the little plus sign one time very lightly, and if they show up, they've been filtered. All right, so it's supposed to work based on actual address with a similar category. Where it actually works is also through actual or perceived affiliation of the business. So what do I mean by that? We could have an estate planning lawyer be filtered out that happens to be in the same building as a personal injury attorney. There's a perceived affiliation, even though they're not the same brand, not the same business, they don't do the same thing. Google is choosing to show one because they think it's a better user experience, every time you hear better user experience, you should always think AdWords, AdWords, AdWords. Where's the money going? If somebody's been filtered, they're as good as gone, meaning that their phone is not ringing. What are they forced to do? Buy AdWords space, right? So actual or perceived affiliation, I've seen it get really weird. I've seen, I've had a lot of dental clients, for instance, SEO clients who serve dentists, where they are filtered because they're nearby other dentists. Maybe they share a little office park where they each have their own individual address. There's a cosmetic dentist, an endodontist, a regular dentist, and maybe 4 or 5 others, and they're only showing one of them, right? Then it gets weirder. I had a client who works with bail bonds people because, nobody ever gets arrested in Vegas. And they were being filtered out because they were on the same street as a bunch of other bail bonds places, which was just crazy to think. Not even the same brand at all, not even the same address, but they're being filtered because there's a perceived affiliation, right? Google's thinking that it's a bad user experience to show all these bail bonds places on the same street. Why? Go back to number 1 again, because everything is about being the closest on your mobile device. So we need to get around that. We have to prove to Google we are the most relevant, regardless of location. Okay, so that's filtering. Number 3, impossible. Location of the city center is no longer an issue, and I say facetiously, unless you spent years of time, money, and effort to nab a city center address, only to be screwed. Again, location driven. What do I mean? As part of the algorithm for years before Possum, the only way Google could really figure out that you were in the city you said you were in was if you were in the city center. So people would spend a lot of money and time to go out and try to get an office in the city center because it really did play into the algorithm quite a bit. It was hard to get ranked when you were on the outskirts of town, very easy or a lot easier to get ranked when you were in the city center. So all these people spent all this time, money, and effort, and now Google, as part of their Possum update, decided, well, not decided, I think the algorithm evolved, that you don't have to be in the city center. What if you're on the outskirts of town? Is it a good user experience to show people, only people in the city center? What if you don't want to drive that far? What if you are actually on the outskirts of town, and you want to see a dentist on the outskirts of town? Google decided again that doesn't matter. All roads lead back to number 1, which is location of the searcher on a mobile device, right? They're treating everybody like a pizza place. They're thinking that every single searcher wants to see what's closest, not what's best. Okay, so I say, are you sensing a pattern here? So I hope you are by now. And really the pattern is geography, location. 3 of the changes are location driven. Why? Because Google understands that mobile is very important, and it is, but the algorithm hasn't evolved enough. It hasn't gotten smart enough. So we have to understand why that's important and what we can do about it. All right? So now, really quickly, stick around because we still have part 2 of our training coming up, which is going to include the why I told you it's true trap. Is your worst enemy with GMB. Very, very important stuff. Categorically denying categories. I'm going to show you how to get easy wins in as little as 3 minutes. I've literally been on the phone with people where they've been ranked in maps in as little as 3 minutes with what I'll show you in part 2. And then my 3-step plan to success every single time. So I know for some of you time is very short, and I hope you got a lot out of this first half of our training. I wanted to make sure I put in as much info in the training as I possibly could. And, and obviously I've got much more. But let me ask you a quick question. Are you motivated? Do you think that this type of program and what I've shown you so far could work for you if you really understand the inner workings of what's going on behind the scenes and how to get results from this seeming disconnection and put some order to it? If you think that that could work for you, type yes in the chat. All right, cool. I'm seeing lots of yeses. Yes, yes. Awesome, guys. Yes, yes. Cool. All right. So I showed you a couple things so far that really can help you dramatically increase your ability to get 3-pack rankings fast. Now I want to ask you a serious question. What would that mean to you if you could get 3-pack rankings fast? What if you got 5 new clients, or you were able to keep 5 additional clients around a lot longer who would go price shopping somewhere else because they know there's nowhere to go? Their phone is ringing so much that you're the only game in town. What's that worth to you? Or now you can actually charge people more because the person before you couldn't get results like this. What does that mean to you? I mean, give me some answers in the chat. Let me know what that would mean to you. What's it worth to you? All right, so really quickly, I want to ask you a very serious question before we move on at all. Did I earn the right to spend 10 minutes to chat with you about how we can work together? And as you know, we only obviously had a short amount of time for part 1 of their training. And if you want to learn more about my program, well, I have this brand new training program. But do me a favor before we even get into that at all. I want to make sure that I earn the right. Did I do a good enough job training you in part 1 today? And if so, type yes in the chat. I'm seeing yes, lots of yeses coming through. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Cool. Awesome, guys. I appreciate that. So before we get into part 2 of the training, let me just run you through this brand new program that I have. And if this product that I'm about to show you had no cost to you today, do you believe that if you went through it, you could get results like the ones I showed you earlier, which is how I got those results, by understanding what I'm going to show you in this, the training. So I want to understand if you believe that if you went through it, you could get similar results to the ones I showed you earlier. And if that's true, then I have to kind of conclude that the only reason to not get started today would be because you absolutely just don't have the money. And maybe I can do something about that when we get there, okay? All right, so before I go over my program, I want to let you know, obviously, it is not for everyone. This is for people who are serious, for people who actually want to get real results. So if you're one of those people who just dabbles, or you watch a couple videos, or you don't ever even log into the training, this is not for you. It's for people who really want real results, okay? Big results. And there's going to be a very small investment, but trust me, I'm going to make it super easy on you. Some of you will actually be able to get access for no money up front. My job today is to show you more details about it and make it as easy as possible for you to get started today. And I'm sure you've seen courses out there that cost $19.97 or more. Don't worry, you're not going to pay that. All right, so you do need to commit about 2 to 3 hours a week for the next couple weeks going through the training. What I'm offering is not some sort of push-button software. It just doesn't exist, guys. You need to spend a little bit of time to learn this and learn my easy step-by-step process. And here's the thing, I don't want your money today. I want your money only if you're going to get an ROI. I only want your money if you're going to go through the course carefully. If you're going to be one of those people who commits to going through the course. So don't refund just because you don't go through the course. Let's not let that be the reason because you've just never even cracked open the training, all right? So the whole process is going to take about 60 to 90 days to start getting really good results after you start implementing my proven program. And every person I've showed you before, it took them 60 or 90 days, and that's exactly what I want for you guys. So now, of course, I do need to tell you that your results are going to vary, obviously, depending on how carefully you implement the steps in the training. And also, there's always a random ranking factor in play with Google that neither myself or anybody else out there can control. All right? So before we dive into the specifics of the training, I'm going to show you people who I've gone through this training with live who have gotten great results, okay? This is Andy Stickle, great client of mine, runs a multi-million-dollar agency in Lakeland, Florida, and we're about to move on to I think our fifth session together. Not because he's not learning, but because Andy is one of those guys who values his time and likes me to dive into some of his properties. He's in a lot of niches, works with a lot of clients, and we'll just diagnose things together on the phone. And he says, had another great training session with Brian today or yesterday. Extremely valuable info, well worth the money. Monique, one of my favorite clients ever. Monique is the only person who actually somewhat intimidated me. And I'm not shy, as you can tell. She's the only person I trained live one day who she said, can I bring a couple people on the call with me? And I said, sure. We do these sessions on Skype a lot of times. And, a couple people, I don't mind. And I log on to Skype and we get on video chat and there's 25 people in the room. I'm not exaggerating. She has that's only part of her employees. She has a multi-million-dollar agency up in Washington. And she says, if you guys have not bought Brian Willey's Maps Training Coaching, you're missing out. Intense and awesome. Simon from Dallas built a doctor site, very competitive niche, by the way. And he implemented the steps per the training, and he says, bam, number 2 on Maps in just a few days, and then contacts me shortly thereafter to say, update, it's now number 1 on Maps and number 10 organic. Thank you, Simon. Joe in Florida has been very successful at getting Google My Business rankings for the company he works for. He's been getting highly competitive terms in spots 1 through 3 in major cities like New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. I would not have been able to do it without your help. Thank you very much, Joe. Mark Marino in Orlando, Florida, very cool story, is starting an SEO agency and gets inundated with people selling lousy SEO training, says he feels fortunate that he's come across my site, doesn't even bother opening up other emails. And the coolest part is that we helped improve his local business because he learned the stuff that I teach in the training that I'm going to show you in the new program that I have. He's literally been able to build a side business that's quickly becoming his primary income from learning this stuff. So thank you, Mark. That's awesome. The info Brian Willey is dishing out on the 3-pack is priceless. Sean in St. Louis, Missouri. Janet talks about, this course is worth thousands of dollars. She was in Maps for a few cities in her area after going through the training and is saying that Brian really knows his stuff. Grateful that she found the training. Thank you, Janet. Armando says you could sell this for $9.95 easy. Really good stuff, just saying. Thanks very much, Armando. Steve, very cool example too. This has led to thousands of dollars in new business for him because he learned what I'm going to teach you in the new program that I have, okay? And he says pretty good ROI, I would say. So he actually learned this stuff, implemented it, got results, and it's led to a ton of new business for him. All right, so let's talk about the program itself. I'm going to try to go through this quickly, and then we'll get back into part 2 of the training. So Maps Liftoff Agency Black is a $1,797 value. That's what I charge my live coaching clients. And here's the cool part. This is better than live because I've actually created a video training program where here's the fun part. I've been able to distill everything down, all these coaching sessions, all these consulting sessions I've done over the years into exactly what works and what doesn't work, right? A very precise process. And the thing is that when I work one-on-one with somebody, we deal with a specific set of facts. We'll use one of their sites as an example. Well, maybe you have different types of clients in different niches, different scenarios. No one site is exactly alike. I've been able to distill this down so when you log in, you'll be able to look at, hey, this type of client is a single location client. Oh, here's the setup. This type of client is a multi-location client. Here's the setup. Oh, I've got a service business now, or a service business with multiple locations. Here's the setup. So you're basically getting sort of the wisdom of what we've been able to go through with hundreds of clients on the phone over the years, distilled down into a training course. I wasn't able to do that before. It was almost impossible until I had enough data points to be able to say with certainty, this is the exact way that this works every time. So this is really a cool thing, right? Live is a 1797 value. You're going to get better than live. You're going to get literally every kind of possible scenario that you could ever run into. You know, and it's based on hundreds of sessions and fixes that I've done as one of the highest paid maps consultants out there. So you're going to get that. We're not done. Bonus number 1 for the first 50 people only, geolocation on-site domination training. In part 1 of the training, I just walked you through why geo is everything. 3 of the 5 biggest changes that occurred with Possum are geographically specific. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to walk you through, literally this is the secret sauce. You're going to learn exactly how to structure geographically relevant supporting pages, where to put them, where they should link to, and more for total maps domination. Guys, 80% of what you do to get ranked in maps, this is counterintuitive by the way, is what you do on your site and how you do it in structure. Okay, so this is just one of many things that I'm going to show you of how you need to structure your site to get very, very geographically specific. All right, this is the kind of stuff that really helps tremendously. And nobody except my top paying consulting clients have seen this before, and they love it because it's one of the fastest ways to crush maps. And obviously, I want to limit the amount of people that get this. I don't want it in everybody's hands to where it just becomes common knowledge. This is, you know, I don't want this getting distilled down, so it's for 50 people only, $497 value, geolocation on-site domination training. So let's see where we're at now. Maps, Liftoff Agency Black, $1797 value, bonus 1, geolocation, on-site training, $497. Not done. First 50 people only, my secret maps keyword multiplier training, $997 value. I literally thought long and hard about this. I was not going to include this at all. This is the difference between you getting, you know, a couple of maps listings for a keyword and getting dozens and sometimes hundreds of keyword variations ranked on maps. It's the difference between your phone kind of ringing and your phone ringing off the hook. And I was actually literally thinking about not including it because I've only shown it to my top consulting clients. But I thought I'd be doing you a disservice by not including it. It's way too cool not to do. But again, it's structure, guys. It's 80% of this is structure on your site. And here's the thing you need to keep in mind. I think you know this, but maps is where it's at. If you're not there, your phone is probably not ringing. Most people settle for 1 to 3 keywords and then call it a day. So in this super exclusive bonus, I'm going to show you how to literally force, and when I say force, I literally mean force rankings for dozens to hundreds of variations of keyword terms. All right, this is really, really important stuff. And once you learn this, you or your client's phone is literally going to ring off the hook, leading to big paydays. So let's see where we're at. Look at all this stuff so far that's starting to pile up. And let's move on because I'm not done. Bonus number 3 for the first 50 people. I'm going to give you my on-site supporting page superstructure, everything that I do, an entire bonus training on this. Okay. So why do most sites fail to get ranked? Well, they don't prove it to Google, as I'm going to mention in part 2 of the training, I should say. I'm going to show you how to build out monster sites in structure in a short period of time using my exact supporting page superstructure. All right. So you're going to learn how I tap into geo niche and suburb pages and how I build them exactly, how I structure them, where they link to, everything you need to know, plus how to just outsource this stuff where you can just go out and have these things built for you to get ranked in every surrounding area possible, to give absolute proof to Google that you are the most relevant player in town. Right? So if you're filtered, if you're worried about getting filtered, this is the kind of stuff that's going to just crush it for you. Again, only my top consulting clients I've ever shown this to. So it's very limited. So we are up to 3 bonuses now, plus Maps Liftoff Agency Black, which in and of itself is a $1797 value. That's my price that I do my live trainings for. We're not done. Let's move on to bonus number 4. Again, 50 people, you're going to get my services site complete setup. So if you work in a services niche, or you've ever thought about it, or maybe you've thought about getting into pay-per-lead, rank and rent, and you do whatever, plumbing, HVAC, tree trimming, landscaping, doesn't matter. You might be having trouble showing up on maps because you set a radius. I'm going to show you why Google lies to you first off, and then I'm going to walk you through my exact process for crushing service niches every time, plus my proven, previously not revealed reverse method for making GMB believe that you service everywhere you tell them you do in your radius. So most people don't understand this at all. Service-based businesses tell Google one thing and then do the opposite. They'll set a radius and then they don't prove it out. And in part 2 of the training, I'm going to show you how that works a little bit. But in this bonus, I'm going to show you this reverse method that I use that almost nobody knows about. Nobody really implements, except my top consulting clients implement this stuff, and they get just ridiculous results in service niches by understanding how to structure all this. All right, so we're up to 4 different bonuses plus Maps Liftoff Agency Black. That should say $17.97 value. Let's move on. Bonus number 5, first 50 people only. This is a cool one, guys, because a lot of you have been filtered. A lot of you will be filtered. Complete Possum unfiltering strategy, $297 value. So we talked about Possum. It hit in 2016, September, and it hit hard. Many sites are now filtered, which means they're still sort of there, but they're hidden, just like we talked about. And hidden is as good as not there. I've cracked the code on how to get unfiltered, stay unfiltered. If you've been filtered before, this is going to show you exactly what to do. This is top level stuff. Again, only taught to my high-end consulting live clients, and it's going to be yours in this bonus as part of this video training. I get calls all the time from clients who say, holy crap, I was filtered and now I'm totally unfiltered. I'm now the most relevant player in town because I followed what I'm going to show you here. It's what I teach them live. You're going to get it in video so you can watch it whenever you want, and just apply these solutions to get results. All right. So we're up to 5 different bonuses. This stuff is starting to stack up here. Not done. Number 6. Now this one I've limited to 25 people only. And the reason again is this is one of those things where at first I wasn't going to include it at all because it's kind of, again, secret sauce stuff that I just don't want it being distilled. So I am going to limit it. I don't want it out there just widespread. So if you get this bonus, do not share this. Make sure that you implement it. I don't want it on the street, so to speak, and getting distilled. But this is my 3-pronged offsite network set up for massive relevancy, fast maps rankings. Also helps you get and stay unfiltered. So I'm going to do a whole walkthrough video for you that shows my exact setup that I use for every site, every time. And I'm going to include a super easy to understand diagram of exactly how to set these up. Almost nobody sets up these networks. In fact, almost no one that I've met even understands that these networks set up, or maybe they set up one component of a part of a network. I'm going to show you how I do these 3 different networks, very easy to set up, very easy to outsource too, by the way. And it's literally a golden opportunity to conquer GMB rankings with this simple but dead-on effective approach. Okay, 25 people only. I don't want it distilled. I've tested this extensively for 4 years. It works every time. All right, so we are up to Maps Liftoff Agency Black, $17.97 value plus 6 different bonuses, and we're not done. For the first 50 people, I'm going to hand you my high converting maps service sales page. So I've been, a copywriter for years and years. And this works, okay? This is something that I've actually tested that converts very well. So if you're tired of cold calling, this is for you. I've never gotten a client in my life from cold calling. I'm not saying it's bad, but I market and get clients reaching out to me. And then once I do, I get them on a list and then I market to them. All right. And in this case, I actually, part of the process will drive them to a high converting sales page. And I'm going to hand you that exact page, all the copy that I've used, and you can actually lock down clients directly from that. It's a great foot in the door strategy or standalone service. So we're up to 7 different bonuses, and I could go all Ron Popeil on you and do an infomercial thing, but are we done yet? No. All right. One final bonus, super fast acting bonus number 8. First 10 people who get in only during the webinar. Again, this is something that I was not going to include. It's 2 30-minute one-on-one Skype consultations with me, private Skype consultations. It's literally a $497 value. I charge $500 an hour to get on the phone and solve problems. And I would say that this is more than $497. This is almost priceless, only because I'm booked months in advance. So what I've done is I've actually carved out 10 spots starting 30 days out, all right, for whoever gets these bonuses. And that way you're not going to have to wait months and months to get on the phone with me. But I can only limit it to 10 people. There's one of me to go around. I'm already booked up solid for months in advance on these hour-long sessions. So once you've gone through the material, you're going to be able to schedule 2 30-minute one-on-one calls with me on Skype as I go over any questions you have, any issues you're facing. Again, I charge $500 an hour for consulting. My calendar is filled up months in advance. So it's only for the first 10 people who hop in right now. All right. And you do have to promise that you've gone through the course entirely and schedule more than 30 days out. All right. So because the calls are going to be strictly limited to 30 minutes in length. So if you're at all interested in that and you want to be able to get on Skype one-on-one with me to talk about the course and anything that you might be having an issue with, don't understand, I would get in very, very quickly. So let's check this out really quickly. We've got 8 different bonuses now. One of them is a super fast acting bonus number 8 that's limited to 10 people only. All right. And then my 3-prong network bonus number 6 is for 25 people only. The other ones are first 50 only. So if Maps Agency Black did, and all these bonuses, by the way, did everything that I promised, how much money do you think you can make if you landed just 5 new clients or got a few existing clients to stick around much longer? And my average client, by the way, has been with me for 6 and 7 years, right? Or pay you more because no one else can do what you now can do with Maps. So do me a favor, type into the chat how much that would be worth to you. All right, so I'm just going to wait for a second here. All right. Seeing different answers coming through. Cool. All right. So it's valuable to say the least. So, and we haven't even gotten to anything about rank and rent properties, pay-per-lead. I mean, this is just like client-side stuff. Imagine, what you could do if you did your own stuff too, or the numbers of phone calls that come in are just ridiculous by following my Agency Black training. So if you did what I told you before, if you got new clients, kept more clients, raised your prices, would all of this, including all these bonuses, which I tallied up, by the way, be worth a value of $66.73? Again, assuming you had the money. Awesome. So what that means is if you want this program no matter what, then it's really just about the investment costs and if you can afford that. And I'm going to make it super easy on you. Okay, so let's look at the total value again, right? You can add all this stuff up. Maps Agency Black, bonus number 1, geolocation, bonus 2, secret maps keyword multiplier, bonus 3, on-site supporting page structure, bonus 4, services site complete setup, bonus 5, complete possum unfiltering strategy, bonus 6, 3-prong network setup for massive relevancy. That's first 25 people only who get in. Bonus 7, high converting maps service sales page. Bonus number 8, only 10 people. 2 private one-on-one sessions with me, 30-minute sessions with me on Skype after you've gone through the program. Total program value $66.73. You're going to save $56.76, and the final sales price to the public, and you're not going to pay this price, is $9.97. That's the public price that I'm going to go live with to the public in the near future here, okay? You're not going to pay that price. So here's a special on this webinar. On this webinar, you can save an additional $500. Once you go through this program, you're going to be a leader in the industry. And all that I ask is that you give us a case study. We need more case studies to further validate this program. So does that sound fair to you? All right, cool. So let's look at everything again here. This is the total, package essentially. You're getting all this stuff. All right, now let's look at it with the $500 discount. So total value for all these different bonuses, including Maps Liftoff Agency Black, which on its own is $17.97, is $66.73. And if you want one of the 10 30-minute one-on-one sessions, you're going to have to get in very quickly by clicking the link below or visiting mloagencyblack.com. So the public price is $9.97. This webinar special price, $500 savings, $497. All right, so $497. Click the button below to get started. It's going to open in a new window, or visit mloagencyblack.com. And again, the slides that I promised are available for download on that page. I told you some of you will be able to get started for no money. So there's a thing called PayPal Bill Me Later, which is available. Unfortunately, it's just for people in the US. That's PayPal's rules, not mine. But when you check out as though you're going to buy the product. And when you get inside the PayPal payment link button, obviously don't hit submit or don't hit the pay now or whatever it says. Right below that, there will be a little spot that says PayPal credit, which is PayPal Bill Me Later. You apply, you get accepted, and then you can get started for no money, and you get 6 months to pay, which is really cool. So click the button below to get started, opens in a new window, or visit MLO Agency Black. For those of you who don't have the option for PayPal credit, and you're probably asking, hey, is there a payment plan? Answer yes. Payment plan is available. So you can make 2 easy payments of $267, one today, one 30 days from today. Again, just click the button below to get started. It'll show you an option for a 2-pay plan. Or you can visit MLO Agency Black. You'll get the options that are laid out: a single pay, the 2-pay, and then the choice to go with the Bill Me Later or PayPal credit with instructions on that. Okay. And again, the slides that I promised are going to be on the download page. All right. So also, I forgot to mention, within 30 days, for any reason, no reason at all, you're not completely happy with the Maps Liftoff Agency Black, you're going to get 100% refund, no questions asked. So don't even let that be an issue. I've got you covered on that. If you're not happy for whatever reason, just let me know. All right. So if you're ready to order MLO Agency Black, or click the link below. For everybody else, we're about to move into part 2 of the training. For people who are getting into the program, I see a bunch of sales coming through. So if you're interested in the one-on-one coaching for 10 people, I would get in, because those are starting to book up. Once you log in, you're going to be able to get started immediately. It's all laid out very organized in video format, bonus format. You're going to receive your login credentials right away. And again, remember, if you want one of those 10 spots, I would definitely get in quickly. They're going fast. I get booked up several months out. I've carved out 10 spots starting 30 days out, especially for the webinar. So make sure you do that if you're interested. All right, so let's get back to the training, and let's talk about why the Because I Told You True trap is your worst enemy in ranking in the 3-pack, plus what to do about it. So what do I mean by that? All right, let's talk about citations and what most people think of as a citation. When I ask people on my training calls, hey, what's a citation? This is kind of the answer that I get, I would say about 95 to 98% of the time. A citation is your name, address, and phone number appearing on other relevant sites like Yelp and Superpages and all these different things. And that's 100% true and 100% accurate. However, when I dive deeper and I say, what really is a citation? People kind of stumble a little bit, and you're going to see why this is important to understand. All right. So let's look at the definition of citation. It's a quotation from or reference to a book, paper, author, especially in a scholarly work. So why does this matter to you? Well, the nerds at Google, and in fact all the search engines, have started calling things citations for a reason. There's a reason that your name, address, and phone number appearing on, like let's say Yelp for instance, is referred to as a citation. It's not a citation. It's become shorthand for the word citation, but the real meaning of a citation is proof, right? You're backing up what you said. So let's go back here. The because I told you Truett's trap is your worst enemy. All right, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that you tell Google one thing in GMB, and I told you earlier, SEOs, a lot of people are sort of failing at maps very much for this reason here, is that they treat GMB as an island, this thing in and of itself where you can kind of tell Google My Business one thing and then not prove it anywhere else across the board as a citation, right? Even a link is kind of like a citation in the definition sense of the word, not the name, address, and phone number, but what it is it's proof. It's a vouch that other sites are vouching for your site, right? It's as though they're saying, you know, this is something that links back to the original source, for instance. And so you have to really distinguish the real meaning of a citation and why proving everything to Google, and by the way, proving everything in structure on your site is extremely important. I talked about 80% of your ability to get ranked in maps is based on how you do on-site optimization in a very structured way. People are always surprised to hear that. They always believe that everything happens inside maps, and really only about 5% of what you do, 5% of your ability to get ranked is dependent on what you do in maps itself. 80% or more is on-site in structure, and the rest is off-site in a very structured manner as well. So you have to get out of the trap of because I told you so. If I was a prosecuting attorney prosecuting somebody for murder, do you think that I would walk into a courtroom, point at the defendant, and tell the judge, the defendant is guilty, Your Honor, because I said he's guilty? Answer, no. Do you think that I would, if let's say that I wrote a book on diet and nutrition, a nonfiction book, and I decided to say that, you know, intermittent fasting is the best, and in fact, you know, there's 10 types of intermittent fasting, but the best one out there is when you only start eating after 6 o'clock. And it's the best because I said it's the best. Would I do that? Answer, no. I would say, see Appendix A for the citation, right? The quote, the proof, the backup. Everything we need to do from here on out is proof and backup. So keep that straight. It's very, very important. So stop telling GMB because I said it was true inside of your GMB listing, and then having absolutely no backup on your site or off your site to prove it. Prove it to them over and over again, on your site, off your site. Make everything match. So everything we do to rank for GMB needs to be treated as the definition of citation, not what we think of as citation. Proof, okay? Also, you need to select all appropriate categories, and I put in a question mark and show up in as little as 3 minutes. Well, we'll talk about that in just a second. This is pretty fun. And then I'm going to show you my 3 top proof elements and my 3-part foolproof system to fast rankings. So let's talk about the sort of the 3-part foolproof system, and I'm going to kind of interweave the other concepts as we go. There's 3 things that you need to prove to Google over and over. So when I say stop, you know, telling them one thing and doing another, you need to prove 3 things to them over and over and over again. You are who you say you are, brand. Number 2, you do what you say you do, niche, which extends to category selection and the proof of your category. On your site, off your site, all these things. And we'll talk about categories in a second. And then finally, and most important, so last but not least, you are located where you say you're located, geo. This is by far the most important part of the equation. We are in local. GMB is and always has been driven by local. Even when it was Google Places 7, 8, 9 years ago, it was about a place. It was about local. 3 of the 5 latest changes in Possum were geographically based. So why would you ignore this, right? Let's talk about brand. Let's dive into this for a second. So one of the most overlooked things, and this is a little trick that you can use right away, is make sure you get your exact brand and your title tag on your homepage for single location sites and on every claimed location URL for multi-location sites. One of the most overlooked proof elements Yet a massive ranking signal for GMB is having your exact brand name that shows up in GMB in your title tag, right? It's an actual big ranking signal. I've tested this with and without it many times. Every time you put your brand name in, it really helps your rankings. Because Google needs proof that what you told them in GMB, which part of that is your brand name, plays out on your site. And then branded networks, right? Real brands have brand mentions. They link to other sites. They talk about other social profiles. Real brands don't just hide behind PBNs. And this obviously doesn't mean that you shouldn't use PBNs, because you should if that's your preference. Or if you do more white hat stuff, guest posts, or whatever it is you do, doesn't matter. The point is, real brands still have brand mentions, and they link to other social profiles, other, all sorts of different types of sites. And they don't just have links on places that are, like PBN networks and things like that. So neither should you. Niche. All right, so here's the fun part. Category selection, and how simple selection of categories. Sorry, let me try to get rid of this real quick. Okay, sorry about that. So category selection, simple selection of categories inside of GMB is a very strong ranking signal in and of itself, and I have proof. All right. So here's the thing that I see that is just sort of amazing to me, but people just don't understand it. And so I work, for whatever reason, I've worked with lots and lots of SEOs who only deal with dentists. And so I've been on, so many phone calls over time consulting, and we'll go through their category selection inside of GMB. And I'll say, what are your categories? And they'll tell me, I've got dentist and dental clinic. I'll say, that's great. That's a good start. And then I'll ask them invariably, I apologize that my computer's going nuts here. So I'll ask them invariably, does your guy do cosmetic dentistry? Yes. That's a category. Why don't you have it selected? Does your guy do teeth whitening? Yes. That's a category. Why don't you have it selected? Does your guy do any kind of root canal work? Well, yeah, they got a root canal person on staff. Well, endodontist is a category. Why don't you have that selected? And so on, to the point where 2 categories have become 9. So not selecting categories is just is a huge mistake. Ones that apply to you need to be selected. Why? Because in and of themselves, categories are a very strong ranking signal. And the reason I know this is that many times, not just once or twice, but dozens of times, I've been on phone calls with people where I'll say, go select your category. And assuming they're already doing kind of well in maps, they'll start showing up for keywords related to that category, sometimes in as little as 3 minutes. I've seen it take as long as 3 hours, but I've been on lots of phone calls where 3 minutes later we go check and like, holy crap, right? They're ranking for whatever that category is, or keywords that are related to that category. Big trick that you can use right away. Proof of your category is assigning a theme to your category when you need to retheme them on your site. Plus, on a network, and PBNs can skyrocket your listing. So I don't have a ton of time to dig into this too much, but essentially you have categories, and then you're going to assign a theme or a page around those categories, and the theme might be slightly different from the category. Maybe the category kind of makes sense, but maybe it's not exactly what they do. It's not part of their practice area or whatever it is, whatever services they offer. But we're going to use the power of the category to help you get ranked, but we need to assign a theme to it, and then we need to do it in structure again, right? So I'm going back to the need for a structured website is 80% of the battle. And then another thing that people miss out on, which is part of the bonus that I talked about earlier, I go through this whole thing, this entire bonus training, where use of proper keyword qualifiers that result in maps listings, and doing it in a, again, here's the word structured on your site, in a structured manner can result in just literally dozens to 50 to 100 variations of that keyword getting ranked in maps instead of you being satisfied with 3 rankings. So one of the bonuses that I'm actually offering in my new training program that's very, very limited, and I wasn't I was not going to include that just because it's not really common knowledge at all, as a way to force this on site, a way to force your rankings, so that you are getting, every variation that you can think of to show up on GMB. And this is the difference between your phone ringing a little bit and ringing a ton. So it's extremely important. Geo, the single most important ranking signal in local. It's proof that you're located where you say you are. So sure, citations are great, but they actually have less authority than they used to, regular citations. So if you are still doing citations, and I do recommend that you do them, make sure that you spend your time, effort, money on getting geo-specific citations. All right? Geo citations are not enough to get you there anymore. They are a part of the sort of equation, but it's not enough to just throw up a bunch of geocitations and expect to get ranked anymore. You've got to have all this structure on your site or it's not going to work. But it is a component. But don't worry so much about having, more citations than the next person. If you have budget, spend them on geocitations, but just don't think that that's enough necessarily. And again, going back to what we talked about before with citations, keep focus on the true definition of a citation and avoid the because I told you it's true trap by matching your geo everywhere, on-site, off-site. Everything needs to match. Again, you have to prove it over and over, okay? All right, so let's recap what we learned in the training today. So we learned that the blended algorithm is still intact for many searches, so do not lose sight of this, guys. It's important to understand that sometimes you just need to be higher up in the search results. And the cool thing is the training program that I'm offering today is going to show you when you structure your site the way that I teach, it's going to have a natural effect, or the natural byproduct is to get you ranked organically, which if the blended algorithm is in play, will move you up in the maps results. Okay. Number 2, the whole world has gone mobile. Google has finally recognized this and created an entire algorithm based on it. So everything you do, guys, has to have a very large element of geographic relevancy. We talked all about that. Number 3, there's 3 parts to winning the maps game, and you have to get them all right. And you have to match all this stuff: brand, niche, and geo. And if you ignore any of these, you're doing that at your own peril. Number 4, stop playing the I told you so game with Google. Remember that a citation is not just what it's become known as shorthand. You want the definition of a citation, which is proof. It's a proof element. And it doesn't just work with actual citations. You have to do it with every element of what you do with respect to maps, and on your site and off your site. When things are so seemingly unpredictable, this is what's going to create predictability. Okay, so number 5, what you see as far as rankings in your city or on your rank tracking tool, they don't matter. They're wrong for the most part. Why? There's dozens of versions of maps that show up, and I showed you all these different variations depending on if someone's on desktop, in the city, not in the city, mobile Wi-Fi, mobile network, no Wi-Fi. They go 5 minutes across town. How do you beat this? Relevancy across the board, especially getting more and more geographically specific in the eyes of Google. So without it, you can't expect to show up on maps at all. And if you do, maybe just in a few locations. But understand how it works and how to implement it, and you can show up all over town no matter the location of the searcher or type of device or Wi-Fi or non-Wi-Fi being used. All right? So again, we obviously had a very limited time together, and I hope you got a lot out of this, and I wanted to make sure that I put in as much info into the training as I possibly could, but obviously I have much, much more. And as I mentioned earlier, I have this brand new training program literally just released, and here are some kind words that came in from people who I've worked with in the past. Andy talks about how he had another great training session with me yesterday, extremely valuable info, well worth money. Andy runs a multi-million-dollar agency out in Florida and really knows his stuff well, and has consulted with me several times on different little issues that he's had. Great client. Monique, I told you about earlier, is the only person who ever intimidated me a little bit. Runs a multi-million-dollar agency, and when I say multi-million-dollar, guys, I'm not exaggerating. These guys do very well. I trained Monique live with quote-unquote, can I bring a couple members of my team, and got on live with her with 25 people, and that wasn't even her complete team. So she's doing very well. She says, if you haven't bought Brian Willey's Maps training, coaching, you're missing out. Intense and awesome. Thank you very much. Simon says, bam, #2 on Maps in a few days for a doctor term. And then gives me an update later, #1 on Maps, #10 organic. Joe Justin, working for a company at the time and was getting ranked for highly competitive terms in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, spots 1 through 3 in Maps. Wouldn't have been able to do it, he says, without my help. So thanks very much, Joe. We talked about Mark earlier. Very cool story where this guy was just starting out, an SEO agency, working, doing something totally different, and learned so much from Maps training that he just literally started his own little side business that's starting to grow into his full-time income. Why? Because he now knows how to implement this and charge people for it. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff you're going to learn in my training program. The info Brian Willey's dishing out on the 3-pack is priceless. Sean in St. Louis. Janet says that after months of trying to get a site on Maps, I was in Maps for a few cities in my area. So several different cities, which is cool. Brian knows his stuff. I'm grateful to have found the training. And she says it's worth thousands of dollars. Armando says you could sell this for $9.95 easy. Really good stuff. Just saying. Very cool, Armando. Thank you. Steve, we talked about this kind of stuff I really enjoy hearing. It's led to thousands of dollars in new business. This is a full ROI for this guy, right? He implemented what I taught him, started getting great results, and started making more money from getting great results, right? It's led to thousands of dollars in business for him. So he says pretty good ROI, I would say. All right, so let's run through this again. If you may have missed it earlier, this is a brand new training program, Maps Liftoff Agency Black. It's a $17.97 value. That's what I charge my live clients for 4 to 5 hours of intense one-on-one coaching, okay? And this is better, and it's way better, in fact. And I went through this. I'll briefly tell you why. You're going to get the benefit of me having worked with hundreds of clients and being able to distill down every issue into a precise process of what works, what doesn't, and why, based on the hundreds of sessions and fixes that I've done as one of the highest paid Maps consultants out there, right? I don't say that to brag. I say that because I've done this for so long that I was not going to release a program. I only did this live until I got to the point where I had enough sessions to where I could actually figure out how can I teach this so that it makes sense to everybody, that it fits every situation. So I say it's better because you can actually log in, rewatch this stuff, and when I deal with somebody one-on-one, it's really all about kind of going through one of their sites and showing them how to structure all this stuff. You're going to see that, but you're also going to get, well, what if you're now doing a multi-location site? What do I do now? That setup's totally different, right? And I might not have time to walk through that with a person on a 4-hour call, but I have a whole video section for it. What if you do services businesses? What if you suddenly get into pay-per-lead and you want to generate leads for HVAC repair or whatever? Those sites are totally different structure than a single physical location. What if you do services in multi-location? That's a different setup, right? And so you're getting all of this distilled down into a training course that you can go into, log into, watch over and over again, and you're not bound to 4 or 5 hours. You can take your time, go through it, and then when you have specific questions about a particular process for a particular type of niche site, you can go back in, find that video, and go back through it, and just figure out what you need. Bonus number 1 for the first 50 people only. Obviously, this is the second time I'm going through this, so several people have gotten in already. But you do need to, make sure that if you're interested in these bonuses I'm about to go through, you get in quickly. They are going fast. My geolocation on-site domination training, $4.97 value. In this bonus, I'm going to walk you through the secret sauce, so to speak. You'll learn exactly how to structure geographically relevant supporting pages, where to put them, where they should link to, and more for total Maps domination. Very important. Geo is everything, and no one except my top paying consulting clients have seen this setup before, and they love it because it's one of the fastest ways to crush Maps. And so obviously I don't want this to be in the hands of everybody and just be distilled, so I'm limiting this to 50 people. Obviously There's some of these bonuses left. Some people have already bought on this webinar, so make sure to hop in. Maps Liftoff Agency Black, $17.97 value. We're at bonus number 1 as well. We're not done. Bonus 2, first 50 people only. Again, this is something I was not going to include. My Secret Maps Keyword Multiplier training. You're going to learn the exact methods to getting dozens and sometimes hundreds of keyword variations ranked on maps. Maps is where it's at, and if you're not there, your phone is not ringing most likely. And most people settle for 1 to 3 keywords, and then they call it a day. And in this super exclusive bonus, I'm going to show you how to force rankings for dozens to hundreds of variations of keyword terms. And only my top level clients have ever seen this stuff, and they love it, right? I'm going to show you how to force this stuff. I was going to leave it out, but I thought I'd be doing a disservice to people. This is a $9.97 value. So they're starting to stack up here. We've got bonus number 3, on-site supporting page superstructure. So why do most sites fail to get ranked? They don't prove it to Google, as I mentioned in the training. I'm going to show you how to build out monster sites in a short period of time using my exact supporting page structure. So in this bonus, I want to show you how I tap into geo-niche suburb pages to not only prove it to Google, but get ranked in every surrounding area possible. So we're up to 3 different bonuses. Not done. Bonus number 4 for the first 50 people, services site complete setup. So if you do service niches, things are totally different, guys. You set a radius and you're probably having trouble showing up in maps. So what I'm going to do is walk you through my exact process for crushing service niches every time, plus my proven method for making GMB believe that you service everywhere you tell them you do in your radius. So this is really powerful stuff. This reverse method almost nobody knows about, just absolutely crushes it. So you can see where we're at here. We've got 4 bonuses. On to number 5. Complete Possum unfiltering strategy. Possum hit in September of 2016 and it hit hard. Many sites are filtered, which means that they are sort of there, but they're hidden, right? And we talked about an example, and I told you how deadly it is if you don't know how to spot it and then what to do about it. And guys, hidden is as good as not there. So I've cracked the code on how to stay unfiltered, get unfiltered. This is top level stuff. I get calls from clients all the time who were filtered, who are now unfiltered with what I'm going to show you here in bonus number 5, $297 value. So bonus number 6, we're not done. This is for 25 people only. And again, people have already been signing up during the course of this training, so make sure if you want this, get in. 3-prong network setup for massive relevancy fast maps rankings. So I do a whole video walking you through the exact setup that I use for every site, every time, as well as an easy to understand diagram of exactly how to set these up. And almost no one sets up these networks. In fact, I've not met one person who sets them up. They might set up a small portion and that's it. But it's a golden opportunity to conquer GMB. I've tested this for 4 years. It works every time. Again, something I don't want to get distilled, so I'm limiting it to 25 people. So if you're interested, you need to go ahead and head over to MLOagencyblack.com or click the link below to get started. All right, bonus number 7, high converting map sales service page, $397 value. Essentially, this is done by me. I'm a copywriter, and I created the sales page that converts very well and allows you to actually sell maps directly. So let's say you do cold emailing and maybe you want to drive somebody back to a sales page. This is a way you could do it. Or you get people in a funnel and you get them on an email and you nurture the list a little bit and then you drive them over to the sales page that converts very well, where you can sell it as a foot in the door service, standalone service. I'm going to give you the entire copy and it's yours to swipe. All right, 7 bonuses, not done. Our last bonus is a super fast acting bonus, number 8, first 10 people only. As I mentioned when I showed this earlier, people were starting to sign up. So if you want one of these, you've got to grab it right now. 2 30-minute one-on-one Skype consultations with me. I should say, I'm not trying to be arrogant at all. I should say priceless only because it's hard to get on the phone with me. I actually book up for months in advance for these sessions, right? This is a $4.97 value. I charge $500 an hour to consult, and I'm booked up for months at a time. But I've carved out 10 of these sessions starting 30 days out from today, so you don't have to wait that long. So it is a $4.97 value, but it's worth a lot more because you would have to wait for several months to actually get on calendar. I've actually carved additional spots out for people who hop in right now. Several of these have filled up from people who bought earlier, but if you're interested, you do need to act fast on these. These are limited to 10 only for obvious reasons. I'm the only one, you're a live one-on-one with me, so nobody else can really do this. My time is definitely limited. Calls are limited to 30 minutes in length. All right, so this is everything that you're going to get. We talked about this earlier. If Maps Agency Liftoff Black and all the bonuses did everything I promised, how much money would you make if you landed just 5 new clients, maybe got a few existing clients to stick around longer or much longer even, pay you more because nobody else can do what you can do? So type how much that's worth to you in the chat. All right, so here is the public price. You can go through all of this really quickly and you can see the total value, guys. Just Maps Liftoff Agency Black alone is worth almost $1,800. And I'm giving you 7 bonuses, and some of you are going to get the 8th bonus depending on how fast you act here. The public price is going to be $9.97. That's not what you're going to pay. All right, that's the final public price that I'm going to go live with in the near future here, $9.97. You don't pay that today. There's a special on this webinar. So on this webinar, you can save an additional $500. Once you go through the program, you're going to be a leader in the industry. And all we ask is that you give us a case study. We need case studies to further validate the program. So hopefully that sounds fair. So here's the final price. All right, you get all these 7 bonuses plus Maps Liftoff Agency Black, plus some of you are going to get the 2 30-minute one-on-one sessions. If you act fast, those are filling up. People are buying as we speak. $9.97 value, you're going to save an additional $500 today, and you'll pay $4.97. Click the link below, go to mloagency.com, agencyblack.com, sorry, to get started and choose the package that you want. Again, $4.97. You can get started for nothing today with PayPal Bill Me Later. Just go through the process like you're checking out for the $4.97 single payment, and when you get logged into PayPal, it'll show you an option to apply for PayPal credit. You can get started for nothing today. Unfortunately, U.S. residents only, PayPal's rules, not mine. So click the button to get started below, opens in a new window, or visit mloagencyblack.com. And note also the slides I promised are available for download on that page. Everybody else, if you want a payment plan, you can do that. Make 2 easy payments of $267 and you're done. One today, one 30 days from today. So if you're interested in that, click the button below or go to mloagencyblack.com and choose the package that you're interested in to get started. All right, and again, remember, you're protected 30 days, any reason, no reason at all. I want you to be completely happy with Maps. All right, if you're not, then you're going to receive a full refund, no questions asked. All right, so you can get started immediately. As soon as you check out, you're going to receive your login credentials, all the training, all the bonuses. For whoever gets in, the 10 people who purchased during the webinar, with the 2 live one-on-one coaching calls, you'll be given an option to schedule those starting 30 days out. There are still a few of those left, so make sure to hop in if you're interested. And again, I'm booked out several months in advance. I've carved out 10 spots. You don't have to wait several months. So let's move on to some questions and answers. I've been seeing some questions and answers, or questions coming in. And I want to make sure that I get to those because I want to make sure that I don't leave you hanging on anything that you have any questions on. So let's see. Let me queue these up. Okay, Michael is asking, I have a client site that I think has been filtered. Does your training cover techniques to get unfiltered? Yeah, Michael, absolutely. We have a full bonus actually on this where you're going to get my entire unfiltering technique And I go into great detail as far as a foolproof process to get unfiltered, stay unfiltered, all that stuff. Full bonus, definitely cover that. Leslie is saying, sorry guys, let me move back here. Leslie is saying, how long does it take to see results? That's a great question. And Leslie, with anything related to ranking in Google, there's always, an unknown. There's a random ranking factor. So I can't give you an absolute, certain answer. I'd be doing you a disservice if I did. I will say that over and over again with my own clients, my consulting clients, typically 60 to 90 days is pretty typical. Again, anything goes with Google, but that's pretty typical, 60 to 90 days. Sometimes it's the simplest things that you as the SEO may just not be seeing and implementing. It might be just one or two things that can have a huge impact, right? So we cover all that kind of stuff in detail, and sometimes you'll get results really, really quickly. Sometimes it takes a little longer. Just depends on the situation. Garrett is asking, why are you releasing this training rather than just doing the $1,800 one-on-one sessions? Awesome question, Garrett. The answer really is, for as long as I've done this, it seemed like each case was totally unique. But as I started drilling down, conducting more and more of these sessions over the past couple of years, I've been finally able to distill it down into really what works, what doesn't work, and answer really almost every question I can think of and solve almost every common issue I can think of. The other thing too is just it's about time. I've been on about 3 of these calls per week, and they tend to go 4 or 5, sometimes 6 hours. And I have 3 other businesses, by the way, that I run, including a Facebook local ads agency with my wife, and it was just taking way too much time, number one. Number two, my voice is literally getting shot. I mean, you can imagine being on a call speaking for 4 and 5 hours 3 times a week for a long time. And I ended up at the doctor several times with just my voice being completely shot, and I literally can't do it that much anymore. So occasionally I'll do some one-on-one stuff, but I wanted to be able to distill this down, and it allows me to give you everything that you need, just like I would live, and then some, like I talked about. So that's the cool kind of part about all that. Kareem is asking, what if I go through and implement the training? It turns out that the blended algorithm you spoke of is keeping me out of the 3-pack. Great question. There are going to be situations where that's the case. The blended algorithm is still in play, but the great part about the program is that it's very much tied to how you structure your site. We talked all about that. 80% of what you do to get ranked in maps is how you structure your site. On-site optimization in structure, but guess what else it is? It also plays directly into your ability to get ranked organically. So what I teach you helps you get ranked better organically, which in turn, if a blended algorithm is in play, is going to move you up the rankings in the blended algorithm. Okay. Elaine is asking, what if I do everything and I'm still not ranking? Elaine, that's kind of why I'm offering this as a hybrid program, where one of the bonuses, if you are one of the first 10 people during the webinar to get in, you can get on the phone with me 2 separate times if you're having some struggles. And those are going fast, by the way, so if you are interested, we have just a couple of those left. Otherwise, the thing to do is just really go back to the program and make sure that you've implemented everything. Step away from it for a few days, get back to it, the actual site and the structure, make sure you haven't missed anything. If you're still having problems, contact me, and maybe we set up an hour training or something like that. But if you want it included in the price, I've got 10 bonuses, and several of them are gone, so do hop in if you want. If you think you might need that extra time, definitely hop in. Donovan has asked, or is saying, I've heard, geographic relevance is very big. Do you get into that? Yeah, absolutely, Donovan. As I mentioned during the training, 3 of the biggest shifts that occurred with the Possum update are geo-related. So the whole world's gone mobile, and it's Google's job to try to serve up results that make sense to a mobile user. And you have to know exactly what kinds of geo content to create and how to prove it to Google, as I mentioned, where to put that content, how to match it across the board. We go into that in great depth. In fact, one of the bonuses is all about my entire geo setup. So you're definitely going to get that. Let's see, Robin saying I'm having trouble getting more than a few keywords ranked on maps. Do you cover that? Any tactics to overcome this? Yeah, absolutely. I've got, again, a bonus about that where that's one of the biggest issues that I hear is that people sometimes can get, a couple different rankings of maps, and their clients' phones ring a little bit, or they do pay-per-lead, their phone rings a little bit. I'm going to show you how to force this issue with Google, and I don't like to use the word ninja, but like literally it's super stealth ninja stuff that forces Google to show you for nearly every possible variation of a keyword. So we definitely get into that very, very heavily. And again, that's limited to 25 people. I was not going to include that only because that's just not something that's public knowledge, and I don't want too many people having that. So it just gets distilled. Patrick says that I've heard from other SEOs that having supporting content on your site can really help. Is that true? Yeah, absolutely. But you have to know how to do it. Again, in the training we did, I mentioned how the biggest mistakes SEOs make is that they don't prove it to Google. They do one thing inside GMB and then they don't match it up across every other place that they, on their site, off their site in a structured way. So I go into that whole setup, all the different supporting pages, the different structures that I use, where they link to, where they link from, what to include, what not to include. So it's a whole bonus training on my superstructure that I use on page, so definitely. Alex, will this work for multi-location sites? Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a whole training in the main course where we go into serious detail on exactly how to structure your site and your listings to ensure that you rank in multiple areas. And here's the thing, it's a totally different setup from a single location site. And that's why this is better than live, because I don't have time sometimes in the live trainings to get into every variation of every site. I'm trying to help somebody solve a problem or teach them generally how to structure their site. But you're going to get the benefit of all these different types of setups. Okay, so that's really, really important. We have Tanya asking, will this work for service niches like plumbing, HVAC? Yeah, absolutely. Again, I've got a bonus that covers, all of that, my entire services setup, including my reverse method to help get you ranked that really almost nobody knows about. And, the problem is that most people will set up a GMB listing, set a radius, and then they do nothing to prove it, right? It's all about proof. So I'm going to show you how we set these things up. And my service clients just love this setup because they do very well with it. Okay, one last question. Josh wants to know, am I offering any types of payment plans? Yeah, definitely, Josh. So I mentioned before, we've got, if you're in the US, PayPal Bill Me Later. Unfortunately, that is PayPal's rules, not mine. When you check out, you can just click the option for the single pay, and when you sign in for PayPal to check out, don't hit the buy button. Just go down to where it'll let you apply for PayPal credit or PayPal Bill Me Later. Also, we've got a 2-payment plan where you can get started today really for $267 and then make one more payment of $267 and you're done. So that's all the time I have for questions and answers. Really quickly, one more time, for those of you who haven't hopped in, we're getting very close to the bonuses filling up. I think I have 2 or 3 of the one-on-one spots with me in bonus number 8, and we are going to fill up very quickly for the other bonuses. So here's everything you get. Maps, Liftoff Agency Black, $17.97 value. Geolocation on-site domination training, $4.97 value. Secret Maps keyword multiplier training, $9.97 value. On-site supporting page superstructure, $5.97 value. Bonus 4, services site complete setup, $5.97 value. Complete possum unfiltering strategy, $2.97 value. Bonus 6, my 3-pronged network setup for massive relevancy fast maps rankings, $9.97 value. High converting maps services sales page, bonus 7, $3.97 value. And for one of the last maybe 2 people left, bonus number 8 is super exclusive, fast-acting, 2 30-minute one-on-one Skype consultations with me. I'm typically booked out on these things months in advance. I've carved out 10 spots starting 30 days out. So go ahead and get in if you're interested in that. And you can see the public price is going to be $997. I'm giving you an additional savings on the webinar of $500. Webinar price is $497. Click the link below or go to mloagencyblack.com to get started. And again, remember, you can get started for nothing if you're in the US and you choose the PayPal Bill Me Later option. You've got to apply, obviously. It's subject to credit approval. Or you can obviously make 2 payments if that's easier on you. $267, one today, one 30 days from today. Click the link below to get started and visit mloagencyblack.com, one of the two, and note that the slides that I promised are available for download when you check out. Okay? All right. Again, remember, 30 days. You've got a 30-day guarantee. If any reason, no reason at all, you are, I should say, aren't completely happy with Maps Liftoff Agency Black, you're going to receive a 100% refund, no questions asked. So that's all the time I've got. Thank you so much for everyone being on the call today, and welcome to all of our new members. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody sticking around. Have a great day.